The following program is brought to you by Whiteman TV and Bruce Telecom. Hello, I'm Adam Olivero. Welcome to the Bruce County Museum and Cultural Centre here in Southampton, Ontario. We have a very special program for you for the next half an hour here. We're talking about Freemasonry, history hidden in plain sight, as you can see behind me here. We're going to be talking to some Mason members here, the Grand Master of the Ontario Lodges, as well as some Mason members from the St. Lawrence Lodge here in Southampton. It should be an interesting show, and we actually get to see how a lodge is set up as well, too. So stay tuned as we talk to you about Freemasonry, hidden in plain sight.
Masonry, for the most part, is very historical in our history. We went from being what they called craft masons 2,000 years ago to being speculative masons about 300 years ago, and this is the 100th anniversary of Bruce District. I'm proud to be here because I was born and raised in Paisley, so I'm coming home. I was here when they had the previous display here that was developed by the brethren of this lodge in Southampton, and it's traveled all over Canada to display the history of Masonry. And to be back home on the 100th anniversary of this particular district, which runs from Harriston to Wyerton, is a very important part of our Masonic history. Locally, there's about 12 lodges here in this particular district. In Ontario, there are 50,000 Masons, 540 lodges, and they're split into 42 districts. And Canada, Ontario is the largest, so the other 9 provinces in total are probably about equal to the size of the 50,000 we have here. But we're in every province and every state. And Masonry is very prominent all over the world now. The Pacific area rim is expanding fastly. Philippines, South America is huge in Masonry now, which has only happened in about the last 50 years, but it's very prominent. Right now, our district project here is to raise $1 million for prostate cancer. It's not going into the cancer fund. It's going to 3 researchers in Queen's University in Kingston, Hamilton McMaster, and London Health Sciences, as well as Western University, to do research on comforting or curing prostate cancer. It's a big challenge. It's the biggest one we've had in 12 or 15 years. And we're very hopeful that we can supply research monies for 10 years to those 3 particular researchers. There's a mystery in Masonry because the people who aren't Masons think it's a mystery. It's not as big a mystery as you think it is. There's hundreds of books that are wrote about Freemasonry. There's all kinds of access on technology today that you can find out about Masonry. And one of the aspects of Masonry, as we may have heard, is brotherly love, relief, and truth. Brotherly love is self-explanatory. Relief is giving monies to good works or doing good works for people that have something less than us. And truth is just to be upright and honest citizens. If they go around and look at all the involvement of people who are famous worldwide and see what's in here from kings and princes and presidents of the United States, as well as famous Canadians, you'll find that Masonry is deep-rooted in the history of North America in particular. It started in England and spread to Canada, and they're going to learn a lot about the history of Masonry and some of the great people that were involved in it. And Masons today, as you might know, and we talked about the charities, we're very humble. We don't go around bragging what we do it very quietly. And maybe that's why we're not known as well. We are embarking right now on a program to maybe develop a cable station half-hour program and some ads for television of 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and a minute to bring Masonry to the forefront more than we have before. If you want to be a Mason, you ask a Mason if you tell him you're interested, and he will consider you for membership and take your application forward. We have a joke for people that are involved as much as Rob Schuler and I, that it's one day a month.
It's way more than that.
But it's, well, usually what happens when you get involved and you enjoy it, you attend your own lodge once a month and maybe twice a month if there's a special meeting. But then you learn to meet other people from other communities like Port Elgin, Paisley, Tara, and you visit those lodges too. So then it becomes more than once a month. But we kind of call it a joke when we get really deeply involved. The basis of Masonry is based on religion. We don't segregate because of religion, but it is based on religious symbols that were there, as well as Masonic symbols from the days when Masons were craftsmen that built buildings and laid stones and whatnot. They all have a meaning that was written by the craft Masons years ago, and then turned over in the last 300 years to those who are speculative Masons, so that anybody can join. Masonry is pretty strong. As I said, we're celebrating the 300th anniversary of modern Masonry. I'm quite optimistic that the future of Masonry is growing. We've had great growth, and some of the things you find after the World Wars, people came back, and when you were on the armed forces, it wasn't always a pleasant adventure, but there was great camaraderie between soldiers and airmen and whatnot. And after that, they missed that camaraderie, so they looked for something. It was either service clubs or fraternities, and we had great growth. Our greatest growth in Ontario was from 1954 to 1962, and it's declined over the years somewhat. But there are young people now who are looking for things, and because of the access of technology that we have now with Facebook and internet and all the technology we have, there's better access to Masonry, and that arouses the interest of young people. I started out as an average Mason in a lodge, became the master of my lodge. I was asked on behalf of my lodge to become the District Deputy Grand Master, which is similar to Bruce District here. I was in Wellington District, and after that I had a very successful term, and after that I was asked to go on the Board of General Purposes of the Provincial Executive. And I served there for 10 years and got encouraged to run for Deputy Grand Master, and you do that for 2 years and then you become Grand Master. So it's your option to do that if you're interested. And I was very proud to be approached and asked if I would consider that, and I did, and I'm here. From day to day, I write a lot of letters and spend a lot of time on the computer, but I am the spokesman for Masons of Ontario, basically. I travel from Kenora to Montreal and visit all of those districts 2 or 3 times and go to receptions where we honor our Masons in that area with sometimes awards and often make presentations like we did to the hospital here today.
I'm here now with Laura Leonard from the Bruce County Museum and Rob Schuler, the District Deputy Grand Master for this district here in Bruce County. And Rob, let's start with you. This exhibit was created when?
We started working on it in about 2010 and exhibited first in 2011. Put together by the Masons of Bruce District, sort of spearheaded by the members of St. Lawrence Lodge in Southampton.
And so that's the interesting part about this the lodges. You know, like say a Rotary Club, maybe like the Hanover Rotary Club or the Southampton, but you guys have certain names for each lodge, or some of them have certain names, right? Like the St. Lawrence Lodge is here in Southampton, for example.
Cedar Lodge in Wyerton, Aldworth Lodge in Paisley, Forest Lodge in Chesley. The history behind the names is sometimes a little vague, but St. Lawrence Lodge is the story there is that it's named after St. Lawrence, a martyr. The second alternative to that is that the Tears of St. Lawrence, or the Perseid meteor shower, occurs every August, and it's very visible offshore here in Southampton, so that's where our name came from. 2 options.
Now, why create this exhibit? What was the idea behind doing that?
We thought it was time to illustrate and promote Freemasonry, bring it out from under the bushel. It's been sort of hidden from most folks' eyes for 300 years, or over 100 years certainly in our district, and we thought it was time to just get it out in the open and promote it. I don't know if it was an intentional thing. That's a difficult thing to answer. I heard someone ask a question earlier about us being a secret organization, and the standard answer is no, we're not a secret organization, but we have secrets. And those secrets really are limited to modes of recognition. Everything else is available on the internet. There's nothing secretive about us. Our logos are on the front of our lodges. People have bumper stickers and golf shirts and ball caps, and nothing's really secret about us.
Can you tell me a little bit about how this exhibit's taken off? You're mentioning that it's just taken off at a full force and it's going all over museums across Ontario.
That's very true. I don't think any of us expected it to take off the way it has. When it left here in 2011, it went on the road and went as far. I can't remember all of the various lodges. Maybe Laura can tell us some of the lodges that it went to during that period of time. Laura, can you help me with that?
The furthest it's gone so far is Gimli, Manitoba, to the new Iceland Heritage Museum out there. And actually, they're judging from just even the visitor logbook, they had visitors from all over the world. I don't know, like maybe it's a good vacation spot out there. But even people as far away as like Reykjavik, Iceland, in Australia have signed the book. So it's definitely had a really great response from visitors. And the museums and the lodges out there work together wherever it is that it goes. So it's been great.
That's the other part I was going to bring up. Maybe you can explain in more detail, Rob, that when this goes to a new museum, you approach the local lodges to help out, right?
Yeah, the lodges in the district around the museum that the exhibit is being set up in are encouraged to bring their own local memorabilia or artifacts or history to the museum and incorporate into the framework that we've provided here. So it gives them a local voice. In addition to the broader image that we're trying to portray here in the exhibit.
And so what were people supposed to learn when they come to this exhibit? They've got lots of stuff here. We have behind us a whole lodge set up as it would be in a lodge. So what do you want people to learn when they come to see this exhibit?
A bit of the history, a bit of the philosophy, an introduction to some of the people who have contributed to society in general who were Masons. A specific example in this exhibit this month only is the Rudyard Kipling gavel, which was presented by Rudyard Kipling to a member of Grand River Lodge. And The provenance of that artifact was proven by one of our members of the board, and that's just an interesting sort of specific little snippet that we wanted to highlight this time around, just for the month of April.
And Laura, it must be pretty special for you being a curatorial assistant here at the museum to not only see these items, but to be able to help Rob and his lodge get this together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is really great. It's really important to, we're lucky for the Masons anyway, the lodges are all still going. A lot of times they're amalgamating, though, and sharing space. So we've acquired actually quite a few recent artifacts because of that. But they've always been in our community. St. Lawrence Lodge here in Southampton has been here since 1860. So they even predate the Bruce District Centennial. And the Northern Light Lodge in Kincardine was even before then. They're even older. So they have been part of Bruce County and its history for well before even the county was even incorporated almost. So yeah, it's a great thing to have.
And both of you, the items here, not a lot of people might have seen these items ever before in their life. I certainly haven't seen them, not being a Mason member myself. So it's interesting to see a lot of the history and the innate carvings and how the lodge is set up. It's quite interesting, Rob.
I think it's fair to say there's been in terms of the furnishings, there's been a lot of love lavished on the furnishings of the various lodges. Although they would have started out as simple, perhaps a simple room above a pub with very simple furnishings, and they've just kind of grown over the years and become what they are. And they definitely are special, and I don't think you see them in too many other organizations.
So Laura and Rob, thank you very much for your time today and explaining a little bit of this exhibit and the history behind it.
Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thanks.
I'm here now with Doug Pedwell, the district chairman for the Bruce 100th anniversary, and you were also mentioning to me that you were on the chair that helped put this originally together?
Correct. That was for our St. Lawrence Lodge's 150th anniversary, and it sort of morphed into all the lodges in Bruce District and Bruce County.
So let's start with then we were just talking before we got started about some of the interesting pieces that are in the exhibit this time around. There's, for example, there's the Kipling gavel.
Now, the Kipling gavel, for those who remember the books of Kim, The Man Who Would Be King, was written by Rudyard Kipling, a British author, in the last century, at the beginning of the last century, and he was a Mason. And he was connected to a friend of his was in Kitchener, and he sent him a gavel. And when they were checking the basement one day, they found this gavel, and they were able to track down who it was from, and they found the letters and support and all that, and it's all been authenticated and so on. Masons have been very active in Canadian history in various roles, and in the room around us, behind us, there are pictures of Canadian Masons and internationally famous Masons. This time, because of the time constraints we had, we were unable to get some stuff from the museums in Ottawa, but in the past we've had various activities and aprons from of Canadians who were Masons here, and we had a dirk which was from the 1700s, right from when Wolfe came into Quebec, and they set up the first military lodges. So, and we have new this year. We have the exhibit. We've incorporated our district charities. We've incorporated World War I. As a matter of fact, in the afternoon, the retired director of the Canadian War Museum, Dan Glennie, will be speaking on Masons in World War I and the Victoria Cross winners. So.
And that's interesting. You were saying to me earlier in the day that during World War I think you said 15% of the Canadian contingent were Masons.
That's correct. We know that that's the approximate number. It may have been higher, right? But we know for that one for sure.
That's interesting. So that that brotherhood and camaraderie probably carried into the military and then spread a little bit. And that's when John was saying that you had high memberships when the wars ended.
Yeah. Oh, we did, yeah. And it goes through cycles. Right. And all you have to do is look at histories, and you can see cycles in attendance and membership and so on. In our area right now, membership is going up.
Let's talk a little bit about the charities, the local programs you do here. You're supporting things like the Saugeen Children's Safety Village that's down near Hanover, right?
That is correct. We have supported a number of children's programs in the area. We do it quietly. One of our big ones that's not so quiet is the Masonic Chip program, which is offered in certain areas around that, and that's a child identification program. which is done on a volunteer basis, bringing in dentists and a variety of other people. And the parents are given all the information so that if their child happens, unfortunately, to disappear, they have the stuff. You've had it done yourself with your children, so it's a safety device, and it has been used to help locate lost children. So, and then the other things that we do, so a lot of the lodges are involved in the blood collection and blood services. The big push on the Grand Lodge this year is prostate cancer research, and all lodges are donating to the Grand Master's charity of choice. And we also have a local charity. Our district deputy Grand Master has his own charity he's chosen, so we support that. Most of the time we do things anonymously. We don't tell a lot of people what we're doing and who we've given money to, because sometimes it's embarrassing to the people. They've had to receive some money maybe to help pay the hydro bill or something like that. In our lodges we have what's called the broken column of support, and people donate money in that, and that goes to a benevolent fund and is used to help individuals out who are in need.
So that's interesting, like you're saying, that not a lot of it's advertised, because you have supported people that like can't pay the hydro or have had a serious injury and have no insurance or recourse, right?
Yeah. And then the lodges help them out, and they don't tell anybody that they're doing it. And in fact, often the people don't even know where the money's come from.
That's amazing too, and that could be maybe some of the mystery that the general public sees. What's going on with these people? What are they doing?
It's because have been considered a secret society. Yes. We're not. We're in plain sight, which is why this exhibit's called "A History Hidden in Plain Sight." Yes. Everybody knows that we're here, and they see the compass and square and that, but we don't generally make a big deal about it. We don't stamp this is a Masonic project on it. We just do it.
Right. Now, the last question I had was if people are able to make it to the Bruce County Museum in April, they want to try and come on the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We generally have people here. But the museum is open all the time, and but we don't necessarily have somebody acting here who's here can answer questions. Right.
So they do want to, if they do have some questions about Freemasonry, if you're watching and you want to ask them and you want to check this out, try and come on that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You'll have somebody here.
We'll have somebody here to answer those questions. It's only here till the end of April, and then the exhibit's gone. It's on the road until, I believe, May of 2018.
And then it may come back here, maybe by that point?
If it comes back here, it may be just to be tidied up. Right. Most of these little museums do their planning 2 years, 3 years out, so we fully expect it will be booked all the way through 2018.
That must make your lodge feel fantastic, since you started this back in 2011 and it's toured all over Canada, essentially.
Yeah, it's been out to Manitoba, and it's heading to Saskatchewan, and it's been all over Ontario. It's going into most of next year, and this year will be in Northern Ontario.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for your time, Doug.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining me today here at the Bruce County Museum and Cultural Center for Freemasonry, a history hidden in plain sight. Very, very interesting exhibit here to see at the Bruce County Museum. It's on till the end of April, and from there it's touring across museums across Canada, and all set up from the St. Lawrence Lodge here in Southampton and the Bruce County Museum and Cultural Center staff. I really want to thank the staff here at the museum and the members of the St. Lawrence Lodge and His Most Worshipful Brother, John Green, for coming out to give us a little bit of history of Masonry. And if you want more information, you can always visit the Bruce County Museum's website at brucemuseum.ca. The preceding program was brought to you by Whiteman TV and Bruce Telecom.